Welcome to GDs. And this is Stargirl, Season 2. Season starts decades earlier, and we see Eclipso, in the form of a boy named Bruce, killing Dr. Midnight's daughter, Rebecca. While in the present, 6 months have passed after the Injustice Society's defeat. Courtney, and the rest of JSA, patrol Blue Valley for supervillains, but fail to find anything. Pat, seeing Courtney's obsession with being Stargirl, wants to take a break, and plans a family camping trip. But Courtney is assigned summer school, after failing several classes, and getting into a fight with Artemis. We also learn that Rick secretly cares for Grundy. Beth is able to reboot the glasses, but it has no memory of her. Yolanda is finding it hard dealing with the guilt of eliminating Brainwave. She also warns Courtney to stay away from Cameron, Jordan's son, as she won't want him to know her role in his father's death. While Pat finds a new friend, Zeke, who is impressed on seeing Pat's robot, and suggests several modifications for it. And Sylvester is still searching for Pat's whereabouts. We also get to see Jenny being escorted out of her group house, and she is provided with her father's belongings, and we learn that it had the ring of Green Lantern. And in Blue Valley, she sneaks in Pat's house, as Courtney and her fight it out, till the rest of the family gets down, and stops them. Jenny informs them that she is the daughter of Green Lantern, and she was following the Lantern's energy, and that's how she ended up there. But Courtney is skeptical of her, and believes that she might be a mole for the Injustice Society. But Pat welcomes her, and teaches her to harness her power, which appears to be connected to her lantern. On the other hand, we learn that the gem which Cindy got last season was from the collection of the magician, and it indeed holds Eclipso, a powerful being from a dark dimension, and he feeds on fear and hatred, and consumes souls. Eclipso is helping Cindy to form a new team, and she plans on recruiting Artemis, Cameron, Isaac, and Mike. Meanwhile, Pat introduces Jenny with the rest of the JSA. Courtney is not welcoming towards her, but she later realizes her insecurities, and apologizes to her, letting her know that she felt jealous, that she is actually the daughter of a superhero, while she is not. Jenny, feeling isolated and emotional about her missing brother Todd, is not able to contain Lantern's energy, and she breaks it. But in turn, it only strengthened her powers. And Pat deduces that she herself is the energy source and not the Lantern. And later that night, Jenny leaves, without saying goodbye, in order to look for her brother. Meanwhile, an antiquities collector, Richard Swift, calls Barbara to ask about Williams, aka the magician's belongings, as he is interested in buying them. And Pat, getting to know this, was able to identify him, and knows that it is indeed Shades. On the other hand, Mike unknowingly grabs the Thunderbolt's pen, and activates him. He explains to Mike how his wish-based powers work, and seeing his late partner Johnny in him, Thunderbolt helps Mike seek revenge on his bullies. Which Courtney and Yolanda notice. And they tell Pat about it. Pat tries to take the pen back from Mike, but he fails. And on learning that Johnny's last wish before he died was for Thunderbolt to make a new friend, he allows Mike to hold on to the pen. And all of them working together, and with the help of Thunderbolt, were able to determine Shade's location. But they fail to capture him, and he escapes. Mike is not sure whether he is a good fit for the Thunder Pen, and unknowingly wishes for Thunderbolt to be in better hands, and the pen ends up reaching Mike's friend, Jakeem Williams. Meanwhile, Beth is having connection glitches, and in those glitches, Dr. Midnight warns her about Eclipso. And she also learns that the original Dr. Midnight is calling for help through the glasses, as he wanders through a dark location. Cindy returns home, and her stepmother is not happy seeing her. And Cindy struggles to control Eclipso, and she allows him to consume her mother. In addition, she also recruits Isaac into her team. Meanwhile, Artemis visits her imprisoned parents to discuss her recent emotional struggles and the upcoming football tryouts. Lawrence and Brooks break out of prison and kidnap Mike to force Pat to help them attend the tryouts, so that they could support their daughter, and they assure him that after the tryouts, they will return to prison and free Mike. Pat accompanies them to the tryouts, and their presence lifts Artemis's spirits. However, Cindy, using Eclipso, enchants Artemis into attacking Courtney. And thus, she is not selected. Lawrence and Brooks have a heart-to-heart with Artemis before Pat takes them back to prison. While Cindy meets with Artemis and convinces her to join her team. Cindy also attempts to recruit Cameron, but his grandmother Lily warns her and tells her to stay away from him. On the other hand, Courtney tries to learn more about Eclipso's origins, and in the process, she encounters Shade, and he lets her know that he also wants the same thing, and that is to eliminate Eclipso. Courtney informs Pat about the same, and asks him about Shade's intentions. And he lets her know that Shade has always been different. Shade also visits Barbara regarding Courtney's search for Eclipso, and leaves her his number, wanting her to call him when they find Eclipso, as he thinks that he is the only one who can stop him. Cindy, unable to recruit Cameron, uses Eclipso to enchant the art teacher, and as the JSA visit the school to investigate, Eclipso makes them see their nightmares. But Courtney is finally able to pull them out and negate Eclipso's powers. But the art teacher is severely impacted. And when Courtney, Pat, and Cameron were cleaning the school, they discover a painting of Cindy holding the gem associated with Eclipso. Cindy decides to go after the JSA, and Mike was never meant to be a part of their team, but indeed a bait, and they kidnap him. And Isaac and Artemis attack Pat and damage the robot. And with Pat in the hospital, Courtney is afraid that she might not be able to defeat Cindy without him. But Barbara reassures her. In addition, she also informs Shade, hoping that he might be able to help her. The JSA confront Cindy's team, and as they fight, Beth frees Mike. Shade also reached the school, and as Cindy uses Eclipso, he is able to fight it, and Courtney destroys the Black Diamond. And we learn that it was indeed his intention, as now he is free of the diamond. Eclipso uses a destroyed piece of diamond to absorb Cindy. In addition, he also consumes Isaac, injures Rick, and disables the staff. Shade is also injured before he flees. And as Eclipso moves out, he takes Bruce's form. And after being defeated, Courtney struggles to restore the cosmic staff. While Yolanda continues to struggle with Brainwave's death, and begins hearing his voice, before and unknowingly meeting Bruce. Yolanda is also haunted by Henry and Brainwave's vision in class. Courtney tries to help her out by sharing her struggles with Rick and Beth. But it doesn't help, and she lets them know that they have never killed anyone, and she will have to be the one to kill Eclipso. And as Yolanda goes to the church to confess, she again sees Henry and Brainwave haunting her. Courtney is able to get her out of her nightmare, but Yolanda lashes out at her, as she made her become the Wildcat, and meanwhile Pat, being out from the hospital, starts to repair the robot, and Mike helps him out. While Barbara finds a strange substance dripping from the ceiling, and she believes that Shade is trying to communicate. And Courtney starts hanging out with Cameron. Rick gets a visit from his teacher Miss Woods, who gives him information about applying to colleges, but his uncle Matt tells her to leave. And Rick goes to the forest and expresses his frustrations to a sympathetic Grundy. Beth also learns that her parents are planning to divorce. And she tries to get them to talk with each other, but fails. And we see Bruce standing outside her house. Eclipso also manipulates Rick into thinking that Grundy killed a little girl, and Rick attacks Grundy. And as Courtney and Pat stop him, Rick realizes that he has mistakenly attacked Matt, thinking he was Grundy, and in reality, Grundy never killed a girl, and it was all a vision. Before being arrested, and Matt is hospitalized. We also learn that several decades ago, Eclipso persuades Bruce to give him control of his body. And years later, as the JSA attends Rebecca's funeral, Starman learns from Shade that killing Bruce will force Eclipso back into the diamond. Pat and Jay Garrick are against taking a life, but the rest of them are willing to do anything to stop him. And when Eclipso threatens their families, Starman reluctantly kills Bruce. But this lead the JSA to be broken. But Pat and Starman reconciled when he informed him that Eclipso had threatened his life, and he was not willing to risk it. Back in the Blue Valley, Courtney and Beth strategize a plan to defeat Eclipso, without Yolanda and Rick, as a storm rolls in. Barbara gets caught in it, and Eclipso causes her to see Icicle. He also shows Mike that Cameron is attacking and taunting him over his birth mother leaving him. And Pat is seeing Bruce and the JSA taunting him over his silence regarding the truth about Eclipso's imprisonment. Shade is able to awaken Barbara, while Courtney awakens Mike and Pat. Pat tells Courtney the truth about how they defeated Eclipso before. Courtney is angry with him for hiding this, as she thinks that if Yolanda knew that someone from the JSA had killed before, she might not have left. And as she argues, an injured Shade, not being able to heal, appears, and he claims that they can trap Eclipso by fixing the black diamond with the cosmic staff. Courtney tries to fix it but fails. Pat suggests that Jenny's power ring might be able to do so. And Pat and Courtney head out to find her. And they find her at a Civic City rehabilitation facility, searching for Todd. But he was not there. And as they leave, the head nurse informs her boss, Mr. Bones, about Jenny, and that she covered up where Todd really is. Meanwhile, Dr. Midnight contacts Beth and reveals that Shade rescued him from the Injustice Society, but accidentally lost him in the Shadowlands. And we also learn that Shade received his powers after being unsuccessfully sacrificed to Eclipso in the 1800s. While at the JSA headquarters, Jenny repairs the black diamond, but it turns out that Shade lied, as the diamond, on being fixed, will allow him to heal, and it will not trap Eclipso, but only summon him. And as the diamond is restored, Shade regains strength, while Eclipso knocks out Jenny and uses the diamond to absorb Courtney. And they return, thinking they have lost Courtney. But Courtney awakens in the Shadowlands, where she is taunted by illusions, in a black and white blue valley. She is also attacked by Cindy, but the two realize that they both are real. Cindy blames Courtney for being trapped in the Shadowlands, and as they both argue, Cindy is dragged away by Dragon King's men. Courtney tries to save her, but gets lost, and is rescued by Dr. Midnight, and he informs Beth of her survival. Jenny uses her power ring to track down Shade, and we learn that his healing stopped when the diamond was destroyed, but he agrees to bring them back. Shade opens a door to the Shadowlands, allowing Courtney and Dr. Midnight to return. Courtney also rescues Cindy from Dragon King and brings her out. And Shade seemingly dies from overusing his powers and requests them to remember him by his good deeds. And as Courtney returns home, she finds the cosmic staff at full power and agrees to a truce with Cindy until they destroy Eclipso. While Jenny, looking for Eclipso, is unknowingly infected by a dark matter residue. Courtney tells Yolanda that she was not the first JSA member to kill, but this only upsets her further. But as Cindy goes to Yolanda and tells her about the truce between her and Courtney, Yolanda decides to return to JSA, but temporarily. While Pat forces Matt into dropping the charges against Rick, and he is released from prison. And Rick studies his father's journal, hoping to recreate the hourglass amulet. Mike finds Jakeem with the Thunderbolt and convinces him to help the JSA, while McNider deduces that Courtney's light can stop Eclipso, and he works with Beth to find him. But when they reach there, he was waiting for them and lets them know his plan to feed on Courtney's darkness. Beth goes to save her parents, while the rest of them also show up. Eclipso started to merge Earth with the Shadowlands, and they try to stop him. Mike joins in with the robot, and Rick shows up without the hourglass, but he has Grundy helping him. Eclipso defeats everyone and even kills Grundy. On the other hand, Shade returns and he rescues Beth's parents, while Eclipso hurts Pat, and seeing this, Courtney gives into her hatred, and this allowed Eclipso to take her as a host. And now he has the power of light as well as darkness, and he tells everyone that he will be their new god. However, Sylvester reaches just in time, and with the help of him and the rest of JSA, Courtney regains control and pushes Eclipso out. Cindy also asked Artemis to join her, and she also broke out her parents. And all of them joined the fight. And with Eclipso down, they use all the power of light together, turning him into a toast and saving the world. Afterward, Sylvester lets Courtney know that he is not there to take the staff, and offers to teach her more about it. Yolanda and Cindy decide to remain with the JSA, while Mike and Jakeem discuss their own team. McNider leaves to find his wife, and Beth's parents, finding out that their daughter is a superhero, are excited and decide to stay together. And Rick buries Grundy, but Shade hints that he could come back. Cameron's grandparents also reveal their powers to him and wants him to know about their family history, while Lawrence and family move next door to Pat's family. And as the season ends, we see that at the Helix Institute for Youth Rehabilitation, Nurse Love informs Mr. Bones about the heroes and villains living together in Blue Valley. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.